So, Bitcoin doesn't really call for a well. But I'm going to talk about something in regards to how you can potentially identify when there's going to be a manipulative move. But I'll tell you what's true manipulation. Trump today. Even on the squawk, the guy was like, he's only reiterating what he was already said before. He's not saying anything. But the push for stable coin is something that Trump is really more focused on. Why? Well, do you remember Circle, the CEO of Circle? He's desperate to get listed on the US stock exchange to effectively make it so that Coinbase has a competitor when it comes to the stablecoin story. Once Circle gets listed on that stock market, ladies and gentlemen, boy, oh boy, it's going to be a stablecoin rush. With that being said, guys, I hope your day has been very well. I ain't feeling well myself. So I'm going to give you this live. We're going to break down a few things. We're going to have a look at a couple of setups and a couple of things that we did today. And I'll let you guys be, man, because this volatility is absolutely wild. Oh, yeah, Trump signing more executive orders. It's like this guy's doing more work than the secretary, man. The presidents shouldn't have any pens in their hands. They should be signing so much, but this guy is really getting in with it. So let's break it all down, ladies and gentlemen, understand exactly what's been going on. So here we go. Triple witching event, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be one of the biggest tests in the market, and I am going to give you my price projection on what these new whales are getting up to with Bitcoin and what they're waiting for. Because new whales doesn't mean the old way of crypto. No. These are big fat cats that are like, you know what? Yeah, I like the idea of Bitcoin. Seems like it's a bit volatile. Let's get involved and play a little bit and try and make some change. I'll be getting to that very shortly, guys. So, triple witching, what is it? It's where you've got three asset classes, stock indices, stock options. They're all expiring in one day. 4.5 trillion triple witching event. Now, this is going to be a big one, which will test the market, which I believe this will be the trigger to set the low for the next rally to the upside. Because you've got to consider this, ladies and gentlemen. The stock market has corrected pretty aggressively. One more correction, just one more, not about lower, then that would be the trigger point to bring everything back up. So, Bank of England, you know what happened there? It says hold there, it holds rates as doves turn cautious. It's the same thing with the US. Look, they held the rates, the UK holding the rates, the Eurozone's pretty much going to try and hold their rates. So they're all doing the same thing, but this is what we're talking about. 1 million Bitcoin in new whale hands. A mega Bitcoin rally is on the horizon. Let me explain something. New whales, or young money, as they like to put it, right? The problem with new whales is they don't have the same mentality as the old whales. The old whales were all about Bitcoin. You know, power to the people, hoorah, decentralization. Yeah, screw the banks, screw the government, happy days. That's not what these guys are about. These guys are like sniffing. They are looking for blood. Who are they going to sell into, right? Going into the article itself, it mentions here, according to some market observers, when people see this kind of buying from major players, they're not doing it to lose money. Of course they're not. They anticipate a price spike in the near future, not in 3 or 5 years from now. It's based on the Swift holding pattern. So in front of you, you can see supply held by address cohorts, new versus old. At new whales, you can see it's just accumulating. It's going up and up and up. Okay. So that's a good sign, right? It says here on January 17th, open interest in Bitcoin futures reached an insane 33 billion, which quite frankly is not that much. You know, it doesn't really make sense. 33 billion open interest. Well, anyway, the idea of this, guys, is to understand that new money means old way of thinking in legacy markets. That means they're in it for the money. So if you do exploit and move to the upside, you pay yourself because these guys will certainly do so. You can't come into crypto now and have the same mindset that it's going to continue and continue and continue to go up. Don't get twisted. Bitcoin will be moving higher, but they ain't going to give you a free lunch. They're going to test you. You're going to feel the pain first before you end up with the victory goal at the end of it all. Okay? Yes, will Bitcoin go to $1 million? More than likely. Will it be anytime soon? It all depends. Saylor says that he thinks that with the strategic reserve of crypto, Bitcoin could easily succeed $500,000 a coin. That is a respectable and reasonable price projection from Michael Saylor, given his last projection was $13 million Bitcoin by the year 2049. Cheers, my bro. How does that help me? It doesn't, because people want to make money now. That's why most people are in altcoins, because they know altcoins come with volatility and they can flip accounts pretty quick with altcoins. Okay. So looking at Bitcoin price action, you can see today it's taken a little bit of a tumbler to the downside. Now, with the Platinum membership, we did project the moves lower today. It was decent, but it was trying. Bitcoin, here it is. We were projecting that Bitcoin was going to come down. I wanted two targets. I wanted 83,865 and I wanted 81,983 if the volatility was going to come in. But we saw Bitcoin initially make a move back up, and they needed to stay within the 87,141 for a valid stop. And what we ended up getting, these two entry points at 85,860 and 85,212. And you can see Bitcoin on the hourly time frame, it did actually make that move to the downside. So they continued with the narrative to spike up so close to our exit zone. And then it just made the tumble to the downside and cleared the target, 83,646. And we saw 83,865, which was in that point right there. So that's why you got to take profits. Always take profits, man, because if you didn't take profits from that point, you would have effectively been given that money back. Look, it just come back up again. Okay, so that's something you've always got to take into consideration when you are trading, guys. Always pay yourselves. I haven't traded that much this week. I've been trading euro, because whenever we start getting adjustments in interest rates, the euro, all the legacy assets always end up making movements, because like it says in this area over here, scroll down, it says right here, where is it? Here we go. Where are you? There you go. It says here that we recommend staying invested in stocks with hedges, and think that quality fixed income should remain an integral part of a resilient portfolio. In other words, just protect your money. Get yourself hedged out. Do we know where the hedges are? Well, the hedges are in essence gold. Okay, so we quickly go over to that right now. Where are we? There's gold. Gold's trading sideways, right? We had a projection today to see gold going lower. We got the entry point trigger. They did move down, but they moved straight back up. And that's the thing with gold, man. These guys, any move lower is going to effectively end up sending it back up again, because they are hedging themselves. So that was a little bit of it was a difficult one. If I just quickly show it to you, where was gold? It was right here. Yeah, so we wanted to see gold from the entry point. We wanted to see gold try and make the move to the upside, which is what we wanted. Saw the move up, triggers the 3,038 point, then comes down to test that range. But of course, we didn't quite get the 3,019 that we wanted, because they're still favoring gold. They're still favoring safe havens. Go into your bonds market. There it is right there. 10-year makes a little pump, goes sideways. And when we look at it, they are accumulating on the bonds right now, okay? Because there is an expectation that they're going to cut the interest rates in the future. So what I did today, I've only traded 3 days this week. Okay, 2 days actually. In total, in 2 days, I've done trading euro on MT4. See at the top, it's a personal live account. I've done 5,445 dollars, sorry. And I've taken approximately 173 trades scalping euro. Okay. And that's within max an hour or two a day. So I've traded literally about just under 4 hours, 175 trades, and just come out with $5,445 right there. And the reason that I'm going over to euro right now is because in Forex, when there is adjustments to interest rates, it's going to have an impact on investors. Okay. And it's very important that you understand that. It means that not because they're cutting the interest rates, it means that there's going to be a change in the way people are going to be seeking yield. And as it stands right now, we go over to the euro and you can see bright as day that euro is doing great. Okay. It's doing wonderful. It's holding out at these highs right now. We could be seeing a little bit of correction in the euro if the dollar dominance comes into play. But of course, these tariffs are going to be revealing to us if they are going to have an impact. Tomorrow, we don't really have that much news coming out. So we've got core retail sales for Canadian dollar. Other than that, it's going to be a pretty quiet day. But I do believe Trump is going to start talking. And honestly, today, his discussion was absolutely embarrassing for cryptocurrency. It really was. He didn't say anything that we didn't already know, and he had no mention of what Bitcoin was going to be. And that's the thing, guys. You actually think he's going to say it? Do you actually think he's going to say it? As much as we want him to say it, do you actually think he's going to say, we are going to buy Bitcoin? They're going to go about it in a roundabout way, man. A massive roundabout way. I mean, look here. President Trump demands that Congress passes the stablecoin bill, okay? So to summarize it goes, Trump called on Congress to pass a stablecoin bill, saying it will keep the US dollar dominant. Keep the US dollar dominant. What are you doing, Trump? You don't want to encourage people into USD. You want to encourage people into Bitcoin. Now, naturally, okay, you know, they're going to be buying Bitcoin, converting their dollars, but he's always going to be about the dollar. And that's the sad truth. It says Trump signed an executive order creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve, but the details disappointed the crypto industry. Of course it did. Let's just go back and have a look at that treacherous time when they gave us the idea of the crypto. Where was it? Here we go. There was your crypto strategic reserve and then slumped to the downside. Speaking of which, XRP has got away with it all. And XRP is... The court case is finished. You know how many people I watched on X saying the day the SEC settles it and it's done and dusted, XRP will go to $1,000. XRP will go to $500. XRP will do this. XRP will do that. Well, here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Here is your XRP after your court case has been settled. Up she goes. She moves up 26 cents. Okay. Yeah, where was it? From 30 to 33 to around, yeah, 26 cents-ish, right? 30 cents, bro. 30 cents move. When you claim victory about something, you say it with pride. Bitcoin, bought it at 25 and it went to 100. Yeah. That is like, well done, man. Well done, bro. You know what I mean? You bought Bitcoin at 25,000, you sold it $100,000. Yeah, man. Good job, man. You know, everyone's going to be on you, man. Well done. XRP, a 26 cents move to the upside. Like, come on, man. That's your court case done. They ain't sniffing on them anymore. And it's back to where it was. Ooh. Why? Why bother with it? Honestly. It's embarrassing. And anyway, we're enough talking about XRP. Just quickly going over into the order flow of Bitcoin. And we can see that we have got quite a significant amount of... See, this is what my issue was with this morning, okay? So when I was projecting out Bitcoin's price to the downside today, it was on the premise that the market was showing a limitation in bid side orders. Now, I didn't get the big move down that I initially wanted, but my logic was that other than the fact that Bitcoin was going to come back and recover these vector candles down here, which is what I wanted them to do, it was on the idea that I was expecting the market to gun towards the bids to get them encouraged again. Why? Because they're not there anymore. Again, let's zoom out. Where are the bids? Look, it's getting lighter and lighter. And what we don't want to see is we don't want to see them removing their bids and planting them lower. You don't want them going lower, man. Why is it that below down here in the 65 zone is a little bit more concentrated with orders as compared to what's going on up here? There's too many spaces here. Look at this. And you can, when you look closely into it, guys, you can see, look at all these dark areas with no orders. That's not good. That means bids are being removed. Okay. And it's like they're trying to wait for direction. So there could be an event that could trigger Bitcoin to start rolling over. And that was what my argument was this morning about Bitcoin trying to make a move up, do the stop run, because that's what Bitcoin does all the time. It will always front run price. The Nasdaq did exactly the same thing as well. We wanted to see Nasdaq. Nasdaq was tricky today, but we managed to help out a dude in the Discord with a position. Matthias, I hope you enjoyed that. We wanted to see the Nasdaq make a reversal back up, okay? Start of the New York session, front run price. They always front run the Nasdaq. Okay. That's what they did today. They came back and recovered the vector candle. But what they did was they swept above the stop zone. Okay. And we wanted to see a reversal within this range, but they went up a little bit higher to then bring it back down again. We go over to the Nasdaq and you can see that today they took a little bit of a beating, but then they just instantly come back up again. Look at it. So this is what I mean about investors are short term. They buy and then they sell the rallies, comes back down again. So the logic says that we could see it come down to try and see it come back up again. Tomorrow, they'll then roll it over because we're at the end of the week. But that is most of the time my logic when I am providing these setups. And if you want access to these setups, get to the Traders Reality website and you'll be able to take part as platinum members. But you get all this fun stuff over here with checklists, masterclass sessions, and the Discord as well. So if you want to check that out, go into the description of the video and the live stream, and you can be able to join that, or pin to the top of the chat. That's where you get the flavor from it. Okay. Tina, do you ever get burnt out when you stare at these charts? Most definitely. This week, I only traded twice, okay? And I'm normally staring at charts because the way I traded Euro over the last couple of days was just staring at the depth of market. I used the futures data to trade the spot market, well, the CFD market of Euro. So when I'm looking at this chart over here, look, I don't even have indicators on this chart. Nothing. This is just purely execution for me, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm placing my orders on here by focusing on this. Okay. I'm looking at the order flow of Nasdaq, of Euro. Nasdaq and S&P, it's just a bit tricky for me lately because I'm building an account. I don't want to trade the Nasdaq and the S&P because the volatility is absolutely wild. Scale it back, and then I play the Euro where I can take massive amounts of trades, like lots and lots of volume. 170. If I had my time, in the sense where if I was able to, if I was to sit right from the morning till the end of the evening, okay, trading Euro, I would probably place around 500 trades. I really would, because the great thing about MT4 is how you build positions, okay? So if I just change that to 0.01 because I don't want to do any madness, I can place trades and my average entry doesn't move. In other words, it's static. It's just order mode. Bang order, bang order, bang order. I can hit at any point, and that entry will stay where it is, okay? That's how I'm able to get 175 trades in just 2 days, and that's less than 4 hours. Okay, if I start from the 8 o'clock in the morning, London Open, going straight till this time, I would easily clear 500 trades in a day. Easy, because that Euro's good like that, and trading on those platforms works as well. Okay, but that's suited to me. When you're trading on the depth of market, it is a little bit tricky because when you're placing an order, your average entry moves up, so all your orders move up. And that's not the way I'm building the account. That's not what I want, you know? But yeah. Any questions, guys? Hey, man, something interesting I saw on the VIX. When it was 119, when it was at 19, the 3rd of March, NAS was at 2,500. Now the VIX came back to this level, but NAS is way lower and lower again. Good observation. So what you've got to understand is when the actual volatility index is in the same area, but price action's not representing that in terms of pricing of the asset class, what you've got to look at it as is this. The volatility index has already made an initial move to the upside. The article said it. Make sure that you're hedging yourself. Stick with stocks with hedges and think that quality fixed income should remain an integral part of resilient portfolio practice. So what you're seeing here is investors are effectively utilizing hedges. They're protecting themselves. They're putting their money in one place. They're moving it to another. Just look at the bonds market. It's going nowhere. Okay, we saw a little bit of volatility, but the bonds market, quite frankly, isn't going anywhere. Investors are trying to capitalize on yield. And the problem that you've got with the markets as of late, guys, is any news announcements that come out regarding anything regarding the macros of the marketplace, it's going to force investors to say, you know what? I don't like the sound of that. Powell didn't talk about recession yesterday. That gave the marketplace the idea, okay, things seem to be okay. We're going to get 50 basis point cuts in this year with a goal target of 3.9%. We're going to probably have some inflation from the tariffs, and we're probably not going to have any inflation on the tariffs. No, tell a lie. He said that we're not really focusing on the inflation of the tariffs because it's not really going to do anything for us. But when you've got China, you've got Eurozone, you've got Mexico, you've got Canada and the US, and these tariffs are all just moving around like a pack of cards on a table, it's like, who's going to call whose bluff? All right? That's going to create uncertainty amongst a lot of investors. That uncertainty is clear as day because nothing is trending. It's all short-term based. That implies that when you see a move to the upside, it comes straight back down. Forget when you zoom out. Look. When you're zooming out, you can see right here that we've got a nice little W formation. Someone was mentioning it today that you've got a little W formation right there. Rise, retrace, level 1. This is the concept of the cycles, okay? Now, I'm not talking Bitcoin cycle. I'm talking in Forex cycles, right? So this logic says that you're going to have a level 1 region right here on the Nasdaq. The logic then implies that if the Nasdaq can sustain itself, it will break away from this point, form a level 2. Retrace, come back and test this same zone it broke away from, show support, make the move to the upside, level 3 peak formation, drop level 1, drop level 2, drop level 3 peak formation, and start forming new lows, okay? As much as that's what we would like to see happening, the truth is, back to this story of whales, what we need to see Bitcoin doing is we need to see Bitcoin move down one more time. It has to reclaim these lows. It has to reclaim them. Why? Firstly, you've got vector candles and all of that fun and games in these areas. Here is liquidity. This is where money is at. This is where people got trapped. This is where people got concerned. This is where people lost their madness. They lost their brains, okay? And what the market's going to do is it's going to come back into those zones. You've got to understand, Bitcoin this week hasn't actually gone anywhere. It stayed within its psychological range. It stayed within the Asian session range for Monday, okay? So it's not really done anything. Tomorrow, Bitcoin would need to make a nice move up to come away from this range to then make the assumption that on the daily time frame, Bitcoin is more than likely going to try and make a reclaim back to the 50 EMA. But even at the 50 EMA, the problem is if the new whales are in it for the money, that means that if Bitcoin does come up to here, it's going to trap everyone. And the same dudes that have been buying the Bitcoin are going to want to sell it soon as. But the problem is not many people wanting to sell. That's the issue. There's nothing going on here. All of it happened over here. Okay? So when I look at this, I say to myself, are we going to see a lower price in Bitcoin? We probably are, guys. We really are. The bids, look, the bids right there, they're all stepping in. It's starting to come off a little bit here, but we've got a lot of it between 65 and 60. Possibly, could we see that? Maybe. You can't say it won't. Even Arthur Hayes says it's 77K is going to be the point where Bitcoin is, going to reverse from. But do I think that the markets are going to reverse? Well, I've said this before. If you're going to take this in a conservative approach, right? Wait until I will obviously tell you all because I'm paying attention to it. I've been looking at this market surge, Investors Business Daily, for more than 25 years, okay? Been a long time been looking at this, and they always start off with a market rally, okay, or an uptrend always starts with accumulation days. If we go into the Nasdaq and look at the accumulation days, do we have any accumulation days? No, we don't. Quickly going into the Nasdaq composite to have a look at that. Here we go. So look on the bottom right. Do you see any movement? No. Look at it. Your volume is gone. I'm going to take a screenshot just so you guys can understand what I'm talking about, right? Look, this is really important for you to understand, all right? And then I'll leave you guys be. Right. Yes, I don't mind. I'll take that. Right. Here we go. This is for anyone that is in playing the stock game, all right? Look at this. We're talking about a bull run, yeah? Where's my volume? This is how you protect yourself from getting involved in assets. It's how you protect yourself from buying the dip, and the dip ends up becoming the bucket. And literally Just get rid of the letter B and replace it with the letter F, and you literally have it. All right. If the volume is not present and price is doing this, just look at the average closes. Look, sweep lower, trading towards the lower band, slower, lower, much lower, much lower, much lower. Look at the positive closes. They're not closing that strongly to the upside, except for one candle like that. And even that candlestick right there, the volume of it wasn't even above average. So you've already got a very, very light marketplace. So Nasdaq is effectively reversing on light volume. It's looking like it's getting ready to roll to the downside. The volume isn't there. So if you're asking yourself, should I now start buying stocks? Well, nothing's stopping you from buying the stock. But using this information is helping you understand that if institutional investors are not stepping in and buying anything up, and that means volume above the 50-day average, if you're not seeing blue bars crossing that line right there, which I will be keeping you guys updated with, if you're not seeing that, why are you buying? As I said, a conservative approach. Once you start seeing the blue bars closing over the 50-day, and then you start seeing 1, 2, 3 days, the fourth day will bring the follow through. That would be the start of your market. From a macro perspective, we would then need to understand exactly where we are. Is inflation coming down? Yeah? Okay. Justified. Yeah? That's how we do it, ladies and gentlemen. That's, in my opinion, how to understand if you're going into a market that is getting ready to move higher. If the Nasdaq isn't going to be getting ready to move higher, Bitcoin's unlikely going to move higher. All right? That's the story right there, ladies and gentlemen. Any other questions? Someone looking forward-looking. You've always been late and trading the news. Take it from someone who watches this for a few years. Okay. Tina, what's your prediction for the April the 10th, for the first week of April after these tariffs take effect for the markets? Where will Bitcoin be, you think? I actually believe that Bitcoin will take a little bit of a tumble as we go into the declaration of the tariffs themselves, because we haven't had the tariffs yet. But once they do go into action, then the market will react to it, because the second the tariff is placed, what about the retaliation? And we're waiting for that. Right now, it's I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. Yeah, whatever. We'll give you 200% tariff tax on your wine. All right, cool. We'll retaliate. Sorry, the euro says we won't do that. We'll move our tariffs a little bit later on into the month of April. So you can put your tariffs, but we won't. Just can you meet us halfway, Mr. Dollar, please? We're already losing because we're cutting our interest rates so aggressively, and all our money is going over here to defense spending. So yeah, please make it a little bit easier for us, Mr. Trump. That's what Trump's getting right now from the Eurozone. All right. Mexico and Canada, like, whatever, man. And China's like, yeah, baby, let's play cards. You know, let's do these tariffs. Like, well, you stick it to us, we'll stick it to you. You know? And Trump doesn't really care. Why? Because China's still buying US bonds. Japan sat back like, that's all right, man. You keep doing it, man. We'll still buy we're your largest holder. You're going to really do that to us? Trump's like, don't worry, man. I got you covered. Don't worry. You ain't hearing about no Japanese tariffs, are you? Nah. Everyone's saying, yes, 65K, 65K, 65K. Here we go. What is your thought on smart money concept for Forex or for a beginner? Or what strategy do you think is best for the beginner to start with? Listen, the best strategy, in my opinion, is understand. Look, in front of you guys is the hybrid system, okay? And take whatever system you want, all right? It doesn't matter what system you use. Does the market really use smart money concepts? Do you think there's bankers and, the guys really trying to screw you over? Remember, me, you, and all the other dudes on YouTube, and all the other dudes in their homes, all the little prop firms and all of those guys make up 5% of the trading volume. Do you think they really give a damn about our stocks? No, they don't. It's market maker, it's dealer, it's bank versus market maker, dealer, and bank. What do you think happens at the start of every morning before we had the LIBOR rate? Banks call each other and say, what's your rate, dude? Give me your flavor. All right, I'll give you 100 million at one spot 4.6 on the dollar, for example, on pound, whatever. All right, cool. Let's transact at that rate then. Let's go. And then it all starts, you know? Why'd you have the cash market start before the actual stock market opens? Because that's what's going on. The bonds market usually opens around 10 minutes before the cash market opens, right? When you focus on those first 10 minutes of what happens on the bonds market, you're pretty much getting an idea of what's going on for the rest of the day in the bonds. If you see a massive cash infusion going into the bonds and you see massive, massive orders coming in to buy bonds at bid, you're pretty much assuming that that's the low of the day. Wherever the bonds are priced at, up it goes for the rest of the day. And that's an asset class that doesn't really move that much. They don't give a damn about what concepts we use. They don't. Hybrid system gives you the speed and the intention of what these players are doing. Ain't no one moving a candle. Ain't no retail trader moving candlesticks. You ain't moving Bitcoin. Do you understand how much you need to actually move Bitcoin by $1,000? You have to, even 2 pips in the Forex market. Ladies and gentlemen, you need size. Big, big size, especially when the market itself trades a daily turnover of nearly $7 trillion per day. See what I mean? Retail doesn't make up the volumes. So you need to really park the idea. So rather than worrying about what's the market maker going to do to my position, focus on how he's building his. Yes, we apply a psychology because retail is going to be reacting at this point. There are orders in that area. It could be orders from one market maker to another. It could be orders from one market maker who is at gamma negative at this point right here, and he's at delta neutral at this point right here. And you've got brokers and dealers and market makers that are all trying to play the gamma exposure. Where is their risk? And if they're moving price to try and hedge themselves, then that's where you get the volatility. It ain't because some dudes come along and said, we're buying your Bitcoin. This is just Bitcoin itself, okay? It's got nothing to do with that. This is all to do with the exposure of risk, the hedge, the hedge, the hedge. That's all it is. So if you're going to take smart money concepts, take whatever you take, MACDs, take the hybrid system, all right? Fundamentally, you're only going to really understand how the game works if you actually understand what to look for. The biggest time to trade in the day is the New York session. Both pools of volume are open, London and New York. Then when you go back in the charts and you start noticing how they behave around those zones, then you'll start to register how things can operate. Take this free course. Start there, all right? You take this free course, it breaks down the market maker and his objective. What's his goal, okay? We go into it on here. We talk about Alameda Research. We were the only ones talking about that, okay? And there's a PDF in there as well, all right? Unveiling the Titans of Finance. I break it all down for you, ladies and gentlemen, in this. I've done this all. There you go, Alameda Research. Types of market makers, roller market maker strategies. There it is. It's all there, okay? But that doesn't really help you make money. What helps you is understand how they operate and then go back into the charts and identify where is the presence of market maker, vector candles. Because that is the speed of transactions. That is how fast they transact. And when you see them transacting at speed, okay, I'd say, look at this candlestick here. If I were to split this candlestick up, I'd say here is wait there. Wait. This is retail. This is market maker. Market maker makes the most of it. He's moving price. He's filling orders, right? That's his obligation to the exchange, right? He does it at speed. Everyone starts jumping in. Why is it when you look at Delta? When you look at a Delta candle, a candle that shows that Delta is strong, it's green, and it's always at the highest point of the candlestick where the Delta is the most in terms of positive. Those of you that know, you'll know. Why is that the case? Because people are buying at the highest point because that's where market makers will sell. And it's usually the point at the highest point in Delta where the candlestick is where price is going to reverse from. Why? Because that's where most of the traders are sitting. You identify that. How's that smart money? Technically sort of is, because you're understanding that if there's a lot of people stuck in an area and it's not going anywhere, it's getting ready to go down. The best way for me to give it to you is I've done this before, right? When you take a long, if you envision yourself on that candlestick, can you look down and see people below? Are you that guy buying at the highest point of the candlestick? Are you waving from here, or are you waving up from here? Are you waving, hey, what's good, guys? Yeah, I just bought up here. Yo, woohoo, I'm here. And then the dudes that have been buying down there looking up like, this guy's an idiot, man. Why is he buying up there? Who's going to be buying up there? What the hell? Whoa, but you know what? Let me sell it to him because he's obviously paying. There you go. I'll sell that. Off you go. And he's like, yeah, man, give it to me, bro. I will buy your Bitcoin at the highest point. And they call me bearish. Man, shut up. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you get the point. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. Mad love and respect. Everything you need that we've spoken about with the hybrid is in this live stream description. Go check it out. And I'll be tuning in to you all tomorrow. Take care of yourselves, gang. Peace.